Another video. Why the fuck not? All right. I have to versus I want to. Hey man, it's written as a video. Let me just scratch the previous one. Although I need to take a mental note around it. Here we go. Stay with me. Stay with me, guys. I'm just writing something. The pursuit of the fail, designing our insecurities. All right. Add card. So a few weeks ago, a friend of mine came from Spain, and well, a guy I didn't know came, and a friend of mine from Ivory Coast basically said that he's coming to Lebanon, and if we had a chance to hang out, and I said, "Fuck yeah!" Not because I wanted to practice my Spanish, we barely got to do that, but because I wanted to kind of like chill with somebody a bit, like seeing the world differently and trying to look at different things. Such a cool dude. He was a lawyer, and we discussed like a whole social aspect of NGOs, and I ended up nerding out to a point where I actually like built a whole chart set and started approaching things in a very much like I don't know. I have no idea. I'll share it with you one day. Why the fuck not? But so, anyways, I have to versus I want to. And it's funny. Here we go. I have to versus I want to. This is every time I talk to people, I realize there are things that I have to do. Every time I'm sitting with myself, I find myself doing them without even considering that part. So the have to part applies pressure. It's very much me- meaningless pressure. Let's just say. I mean, for me specifically, like I get it. Some people get to actually like. I work good with deadlines. I can't set them up myself though. I work good with I want to say timelines or and it's time. I'm a lot more. The more I think about it right now, it's like if something is time oriented, it becomes easier for me to kind of like feel like the necessity behind it. But it's something that I have to do. Weirdly so, it adds the pressure of it having to be done properly that kind of fucks with my flow in doing it. And it doesn't mean I don't actually get to do it. It just means I do it over and over and over and I go over things and it never sticks to my mind because like whatever it is you're doing, you kind of always want to build on top of it. And whenever I'm having to do something, what effectively starts happening, whenever I'm having to do something, I effectively start just considering all the ways it could be done, which sucks. And when it comes to a timeline, all I have to do is finish. So there's no need for all that consideration. I just do what I do, and I kind of do it as optimal as I possibly can, with a full awareness that I'm just doing it as optimal as I possibly can. Which is funny because like one is actually one should be applying pressure, but it's not applying the mental pressure. So I want to do something is a mental pressure kind of thing because it's in your head. It literally would apply to the wherever your mind touches, whenever whatever consciousness your mind touches. That's the I want to part. The I have to part. Sorry, I have to. And that's basically why probably like you kind of like the entirety you feel heavy when you say I have to do something. And approaching it from that way is kind of like anchoring some image in your head, which probably is not the right image that will come out. While if I actually impose a timeline on it to be done, then I don't really have any image to connect to. All I care about is that time, that deadline for us to actually move forward towards. It's also funny because the way I think of time is a bit different these days, and the way I consider sleeping and like the detachment of time and all that good stuff is different these days. I have a strong feeling like something, I don't know, there's this movement that's happening within me. It's kind of like being a bit more out of this world. Okay, so there's I have to that applies pressure, but then there's I want to. And I want to seems kind of like, I want to do this. And it's thrown out there. how does that actually contribute to where I am and getting things done, right? Because that's the whole discussion. I have to do this, or I have to get this, or I have to finish this, or I have to start this, or I have to. All these have tos, must, should, need. Like these words are kind of completely useless. Uh, well, they're completely useless if you don't know what you're doing. Just remind me, like there's a musician that says, less is more only when you know what more is. And so I don't know what more is because I'm embarking on this from kind of like, it doesn't really matter what I do. Every single time I kind of level up, I'm still at a point where it's completely scratch for me, right? I'm exploring something new, even though it's already been mapped. Don't really have the map for it. And the best I could do is listen to people that have traveled that direction. And that's where like inspiration comes from. But the truth is like every single time I feel like I'm actually like I am at a new level. I'm better than I was yesterday and before. But the truth is I'm still not where the vision is not there yet. Reality is not really expressing itself in a way where I could actually see myself as in, this is it. Or at the very least, this is moving on its own and I'm just a part of the outside world. There's a whole lot to I want. I think I want is also selfish. I think I want kind of like still, it's still projecting something to the outside world. I think I want is still kind of like one of those needs, one of those kind of like if it's built on a belief system because I want to, whether it is I want to get something, I'm pointing at the fact that I don't have it, but that's not really the truth. So I have to versus I want to. I think both of them can go kiss my fucking butt, man. Both of them suck. And both of them, one actually applies pressure for no fucking reason. And then I want to kind of like projects everything to the outside and kind of creates this awareness that you don't really have what it takes for that to exist in your life. And that I think is bullshit because the same way I can highlight that I don't have what it takes for that to exist in my life, I could highlight the things that would make it existent in my life. But when you say I want to, you're kind of like highlighting that it doesn't exist in your life. And subconsciously, I think, or consciously, your mind literally would allocate all the points that make its existence irrelevant, or at the very least, make its existence not tangible. So you feel stuck. So I want to also puts you in a place where you are stuck because you don't get out of yourself to actually get something. You don't get out of yourself. You expand yourself to reach it. Right? Yes. You grow until you're able to kind of like do that thing, hold it, create it, manifest it, bring it, شو اسمه, let it gravitate, attract it, and all that stuff. Like, there are things that you're actively doing as you grow, and there are things that are happening passively as you grow. But ultimately, what I want should not be called upon in this way. I want this to be the case. There has to be a way where we actually don't not necessarily declare, because the minute you point attention to it, the minute you kind of like acknowledge it's kind of like shitty and not around. Then how do you approach something that your vision decided should be done and complete? What is the attitude you would approach it with? If not just the minute you create the intention, there's like the separation between you and it. And it's funny because, like, I'll read it again today. It's Rishi Devata Chanda. It's one of those, like, the knower, the knowing, and the known. And it's the separation of consciousness. Like, one's consciousness, like water cannot get itself wet. Like, consciousness cannot be conscious about itself. So something has to notice that it's conscious. And that something is basically the knower. And There's basically, they create this triad where, like, the minute you realize you're conscious, you're separated from consciousness, so there are no two things. And then everything in between you and consciousness is the known. And that's what you would want to kind of like grow and expand and observe differently. So I have to versus I want to. Both of them suck, man. Both of them are not necessarily serving a positive purpose in our growth and in our approach and understanding of what our vision entails to become reality. I don't know how to end this video other than the fact maybe I have to versus I want to, and ending it with I am. So it's like Nietzsche's thing, I guess. Like, I think, therefore I am, and everything else is because I am. If it wasn't for me, everything else isn't. So I want to. The minute I notice something, I no longer can want it. It's already there. I noticed it. All I have to do is kind of like find a way to grab it, reach it. You do that when you're actually just, when you expand to actually grab it, or when you expand enough for it to gravitate towards you, or to be in your periphery, depending on how you actually like see the world, right? I don't know. So I think that's beautiful. I think that's a good end. It's a video. Bye.